Hello and welcome to this guide on the basic controls of Blender. Now I have a full guide on all of Blender, or at least PS1 modeling in Blender. It's about 1.5 hours long. You can find it on the channel and in the description below. But let's get right into the tutorial because I just want to get into it. So first, let's start with camera controls. You hold the mouse and you orbit around what you have around the camera, basically. So you hold the mouse and you drag and you can orbit around things. You can also zoom using the scroll wheel. That's just pretty self-explanatory, and you can move on a plane with shift. So here you have what that looks like. So if you hold shift and you hold middle mouse, or you drag middle mouse, then you get this situation. Now that might seem kind of useless, but it's quite nice. Say I was working on this eyebrow area here, and I had the camera somewhere around here. I'll explain how I did that just now later. But say I want to move this around, and I kind of wanted to go over here. You can use it like that, kind of. But that takes some getting used to. The real basic way to use it is you can use orthographic view. So orthographic view is a really nice feature in Blender. You can use your numpad, or with numpad emulation you can use the number key row. Say I pressed 1, I go into the front view, and then I get into this nice flat view. And then if I middle click and I drag, I get back into the normal view. So as you can see here, the ears of monkey, you can't really see them. If you go back into this view, you can see them just fine. So that was the front view. Now you have the right view. That's the 3 key on the numpad. 7 view is the top view, and if you want to flip around, you press 9. Very useful. You can just, if you ever forget which one is which, just press any of the keys on the numpad. Basically, the corner keys are the ones that actually do what you want them to do. The other keys, like I'm pressing 4 right now, it just kind of pans around. I never use those, but in the top right corner here, it's maybe a little small for you because I have a 4K monitor. It says front orthographic, and here, that says right orthographic, that says top orthographic, bottom orthographic. You know what it is. So that's basically just like the orthographic view. You can also press the dot on the numpad to focus on what you've selected. So say I selected this, and I press the dot. It's basically the key underneath the tree, usually. So if I press that, you go over here. That doesn't work on the normal number key thing. So if I say selected this and I pressed just the full stop button, I get this menu, which is not what we want in this case. So if I press home, so say I was over here somewhere and I pressed home, I would go back to this origin of the world, I think. But that is similar, but doesn't do the exact same thing. So I don't actually know how to do that, but you can Google it. I don't know, it isn't relevant to me, so that's why I just don't know, because I have a numpad. But let's go to modeling. Just cheat sheet here will be in the description, so that'll be nice. You can download that there. Let's get into modeling. So let's start off with actually removing this model by pressing delete. So if you have in object mode, you press delete and you delete the object. If you press Shift A, you can add an object, and then you get this little pop-up menu. So you Shift A, pop-up menu appears, and then you can add like a cube. Now, I usually add a plane, but that's more of a technique swing. That's covered in the guide on the channel. That's like 1.5 hours, the PS1 guide. You'll be able to find that. I already mentioned that one, so get back into this stuff. So selecting things after you've entered modeling mode. So modeling mode you enter by pressing Tab, and Tab again to exit it. So you notice the difference by this green outline, or I think it's orange on the normal theme of Blender. I use a different theme. Change teams in the settings somewhere. Not going to go over that right now. So if I press Tab and then I click on this point here, we select the points. You can see that because they become orange slightly. It's a little small, but you know, yeah. I can also press A to select all. A deselects all. So if you hammer it a couple times, you'll select and deselect stuff. Now, let's just select this entire plane, and let's press G, and then we move it. So it's a nice way to move things around. I tend to use this more than the tools you can find here. So I have this hidden, but usually you'll have a little menu here. And then you can select this and select point here, and then do this. I feel like this is kind of awkward and annoying, so I don't tend to use this much compared to this. Just hold pressing G, and then you can wobble them around like this, but generally that's not as useful as pressing X, Y, or Z. So you see that line pop up, and now if I move my mouse, you can see it's moving around the axes. So if I move around the X-axis, Z-axis is up in Blender, kind of unusual, but yeah, so that's that's how that works. So I can also select 2, move that around. So you just select, you can also box select by clicking and dragging if you have the box select tool selected in here. So this is box select, and then you can also select circle, but then you can't do the box select obviously. So I tend to use box select. It's nicer for my purposes at least. So box select those two, and then I just move this around. So another useful thing is if you are in that move by a certain amount or move on an axis setting, I guess, or mode, and you press a number key, I pressed 1 just now, you get at the top left, there's a little icon there, or like a little indicator that tells you what you're doing. But I have now moved it up 1, and say I press backspace, then you move it up, that like not at all. I press 2, move it up 2, and that also works in the other axes, so that's pretty useful. That also works with scaling and rotating. So rotating you can do by pressing R, and then you get this tool, and then you can also press X, and then 180 for, that's not a great example, right? You press 90 here, and then you rotate it 90 degrees on the X-axis. Also scale it, so say I want to scale this thing twice as big, just press S2, and if I want it twice as big in the X-axis, I just add an X there, and then it's along the X-axis. So that was the basic modeling stuff. Now let's get into slightly less basic stuff. You'll see I'm not covering that much stuff in this tutorial. Like there's 3 tools here of like actual like modeling tools that isn't just generic like moving things around. I don't use many modeling tools generally. That tends to just be extruding, simplifying, loop cutting, some filling, which you can do with F. Plus F, you fill. Pretty self-explanatory. So maybe I should add that to the little thing here. Let me do that. Alright, I've just added the fill tool because that's also something that I use. So some tools that I use are these 3 buttons in the top right here, or top left here, sorry. You have a little dot, you have a little line, and you have a little square thing. So if I'm on the square mode and I click on the square, you can see I select the square. Same with the line. If I select the line, I select the line, and there you go. Now you just saw me using the extrude tool. This is something I use all the time. More so than subdividing, it gets taught quite a lot early on, and I don't like that. So extruding is way more fundamental to modeling, in my opinion, than subdividing. I press E to extrude, and then I get this line here. So you can do the same thing as you do with the other tools. So if I press 2 here, I extrude 2. Now you can also extrude and then right click, and now you have, now it looks like nothing happened, but there's actually a face there. So it actually did extrude, it just extruded in a different way than then like you can left click to lock it in, and you can like right click to just reset its position. So that's pretty useful. You can of course Ctrl Z and Shift Z, Ctrl Shift Z to undo and redo. Probably should have said that, but that's another feature. So another feature I use a lot is loop cutting. So that's just what I did there. So it just creates a loop around what you have selected. It doesn't always work if your topology is bad. So say I subdivided this here and I tried to loop cut there. That doesn't do the thing. Like it doesn't loop all the way around the object. I go more over topology in the full guide, but for now just take a note of that. Subdividing I just did by so the loop cut, you press Ctrl R and you get this nice little loop tool. Then you left click and you get this menu here, or like this like ghost line that you can move around, and then if you click you lock it in, and similarly to extruding you right click to reset its position to the middle. So now let's go for subdividing. So generally I only subdivide with the entire model selected, then I right click and I press subdivide. That works in any, that's just in the little context menu for our tools here. So if I have the vertex selected, I subdivide, and there you go. Vertices selected, and then I can like, I have extra details to the mesh. Not something I use basically ever. Well, I use it fairly frequently, but I don't use it nearly as much as extrusion and loop cutting. And say let's just go over filling real quick. So say I deleted these 2 faces. I could grab this vertex and I wanted them back. I could either press Ctrl Z, of course, but I could also select these 2 points, fill them in, or select these 2 lines here and then fill those in. And it's always nice when you're filling something in to just check, is everything connected right? That tends to be something I do, and I just do that by selecting a point there vaguely, And then I just press G and just wiggle it around a little bit, and then right click to reset it to where it was before. So just undo that movement. So the fill tool is just pressing F. So that's pretty basic. And it just fills things. So that's virtually everything. I should probably cover the delete key in edit mode real quick. So it's different than in object mode. In object mode, it just disappears. In edit mode, you get this little thing here. So if I press vertices, it deletes all the attached vertices. So that's this one here, and like this line gets deleted, and all that stuff gets deleted. As edges, then the edges stay. So you get these edges here still. And if I press face, then we delete just the face. At first, I mostly used face only, but now I also use the other options more often. Generally, it's easiest to start with faces when you're deleting stuff. Just make sure that you don't get a situation where, so say I don't actually know how to make a good example for this, but say I had this kind of situation, then and I want to delete this because I have this line here. Then you'd actually want to select this and select like vertices, for example, or you want to select this point and select vertices. But I don't think it would actually work if you press face. Yeah, if you press faces there, nothing gets deleted. But if you press edges, nothing gets deleted. Vertices, the little line there does get deleted. So just a quick note on that. And that was our tutorial here. We didn't actually model anything. I just wanted to go over the basic controls in case you wanted to pick a refresher on them or just didn't know your way around Blender quite yet. These are most of the basic things in Blender. So hopefully that helped. If you want to learn more, check out that full guide or check out my Discord community where we're making games for charity together. And that's pretty cool. You'll learn super fast if you join that. And that's about it. All the money we make there goes to charity, by the way. I don't make money off of those games that the community makes together. I'm also involved in the creation of the games, so that's pretty cool. I'll help you out there learning faster and making games that will actually be released on Steam. So it's real cool. Join that, and also like and subscribe. Alright, goodbye.